Betts-LaCroix. And maybe I'll just talk loud enough out here that I won't have to talk about that thing. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. You guys ever have any trouble convincing yourself to go to sleep? Okay. So I definitely did, and in fact, so much that I decided I want to do something about my sleep, but not use multiphasic sleep patterns because I don't have the discipline to actually do that little short amount of sleep. And then somebody sent me this XKCD comic. Anybody ever read XKCD?
Yeah.
Woohoo! So don't read that part because it's kind of bawdy about somebody wanting to do someone else's mom. But it had this interesting phasing here where a 28-hour day fits into a week 6 times, the same as a 24-hour day does 7 times. Exactly. So I made up my own, and it has 56 hours of sleep, and every night I get to go to bed 4 hours later, which is a dream for me. It's like somebody slowed down the earth, and I got to have it my way. And then 46 hours of family time. This is the sort of time that normal people are awake. And it's important for me to have a lot of time to overlap with my kids and my wife and stuff. But I get to have work/study / fun things with my brain. 64 hours a week.
What's pink?
This is I arranged it so that my sort of core hours of Halcyon Molecular where I work, I can be there for most of them. That's 11 to 4 p.m. They're kind of like people that overlap for the social communication part of things being, and then this is like sort of undivided attention time with my wife, so that we stay in sync. It's for us to talk or do whatever the hell we damn well please during that period of time. So that was the plan that I set up to do. Unfortunately, in order to get this core hours, that means that the parts where I'm out of phase with the rest of the world during the week, it lands on the weekend. So I had to find a time to do this 2-week experiment during a period where I didn't have any specific daytime weekend plans. So I wanted to measure stuff, obviously. And the kinds of things I wanted to measure were making sure that I wasn't going to hurt myself, because it's pretty dang unnatural to get out of phase with the sun. And I wanted to know whether I was doing it or not. Could I actually sleep? So I used a Zeo, which most of you probably know what are, a headband you wear that reads your brain waves and tells you whether you're sleeping or not at night, and a Ythings iPhone-connected blood pressure cuff to measure my blood pressure. So next question is logistical, like how do you do this? During lots of periods of this, I'm going to be out of phase with everybody else in my world, specifically in my house. And so I got a plan in my house and looked at, well, all the possible spaces in there. There's stuff going on all the time when many of the times when I'm going to want to sleep. It's just like, what am I going to do? When I rent a hotel, that's going to be great for my family and emotionally. So then I looked at the lower floor, and there's a playroom, and the furnace is really loud. Otherwise, that would have been a pretty good candidate. Crafts and exercise going on in there, et cetera. That is a logistical issue, but there's also this crawl space underneath the rest of the house. Okay, why not? So I crawled around in there. This has a really steep slope, and I thought about building a pod in there, but I didn't have time. And most of it's really small, but there's this one place that sort of has a kind of flat area, and it's about this high. And I was like, well, where else am I going to do this? I mean, that was my last alternative. So that's why I pitched a tent here. And, this is the space. It's kind of flat. It's a little lumpy. Okay, this is a confounding factor in the sleep I didn't get, but I sprayed that green tarp out down there, and then I pitched a tent. And I wasn't quite tall enough for the tent, but it fit well enough. And so that was my home for 2 weeks. And I sort of kind of crawled in there from the furnace room, this old access hatch there. So what do we want to know about how that came out? Experientially, I have my personal emotional response to it, and I really liked it. I got to go to bed 4 hours later every night, and for the first time in my life, I experienced the feeling of actually being tired when I went to bed. It's like, I'm kind of tired. I feel like going to bed now. that's alien to me. So here's my normal life, like, oh my God, I can't believe I stayed up so late, I'm screwed, I missed an appointment here, and it kind of jogs around. And then starting it here, and like clockwork, it's just working really beautifully. And the sleep is pretty good, like the orange is where I'm awake, so you can see I'm still working pretty well. Then here I ran into some trouble the second week during the weekend. Now I'll get to why, some theories on why I ran into trouble there, but part of it is that there is this jet lag, and I'm okay with jet lag, but partly my body's like, well, time to wake up now, halfway through the night. So I came up with a workaround for that as I took melatonin when I woke up there, and then the next night, my body was like, oh, it's time to wake up 4 hours later, so halfway through the night. But another reason that was a problem is, okay, here I am, under the house, and there's life going on all around me, specifically up, like the tent scrunched underneath the bottom of the house, and there's something interesting going on in that exact same spot in the rest of the house. Which is a bit of a problem. Also, the front entryway and the stairs here go up here and then walk across the floor, and then people are walking around in the house, like through these passage areas, and so there's an unfortunate, and that happened to be a very active weekend. So I guess I'm kind of going on with the logistics, but it is a hard thing to do. However, it came out pretty well. This is a summary from Zio that I patched together because their analytics won't actually do this for you. And it showed that, the sleep was, here's where I was kind of messing up during the second weekend, but it was on average about the same. And this is blood pressure. My friend Robert Sapolsky, I said, how can I measure stress in a convenient way without having to measure blood and cortisol? I said, measure blood pressure, it's a really good proxy. So my blood pressure is about the same during the study period as well. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't hurting myself, and as we know, stress. So yeah, it's challenging. I loved it. I want to change things a little bit next time, but I think it's worthy of further exploration, and I strongly encourage other people to try it and tell me how they did with it, and see if they come up also with other workarounds for the problems that they encounter, or ways to make it better, or somehow to slow down the Earth, if you can possibly think of a way to do that. So any questions? Yeah.
Was this an experiment to handle a tendency towards insomnia, or just that you felt irritated that somebody told you to go to bed at a certain time?
Mostly when my very helpful wife is telling me to go to bed at a certain time. Mostly I'm appreciative, but I just ignore her. It's like, thank you for taking care of me. I know you're trying to help me, but I'm obsessed in this, and I got to keep going until the program works or whatever. And I will. So it's mostly, I guess, insomnia to me has the sound of something where I'm trying to get to sleep, but it's not working. But technically, it's not sleeping. And so what would happen is that I get obsessed on things, and I want to keep going because it's really interesting, or I want to finish it, or I just forget about time, and then, I really have to go to sleep now because it's 3 a.m. and I have to get up at 7, and I'm going to be hosed all day, and my cognitive performance is going to be 10% of what it was. But then, I'm just going to finish this one more thing. Before I know it, it's 5, and then, what am I going to do? So it's that phenomenon that's the problem, because I just don't really get tired. Yes?
There's a condition called delayed sleep phase syndrome, and another one which is called hypernictemeral, or non-24-hour sleep syndrome. Do you know if you have those, or is it just a personal preference?
How would I know if I had them?
There are some diagnoses that can be done, I think. There's more info on Wikipedia about those things.
Wow. I'd love to talk to you afterward and write down the names of those things on my iPhone. Yeah.
What was the reaction of other people to this, both your family and people at work? What did they notice different? Or
Nobody really specifically noticed anything. It seemed like I got more done during that period, largely because a lot of my work study, fun, geek out thinking, philosophizing time was while the rest of the universe was asleep, and I could just have a lot more uninterrupted time. The people at Halcyon, where I spend my days during the week, were really supportive. They were just like, oh wow, that's really cool. Let me know how it worked out, and then I might try it. My wife was pretty skeptical. You know, the weekend is traditionally a time that you think of as having the working outside the house person kind of more around, and this had me like asleep, kind of a time that's perceived to be all weekend. It's only really half of it, but and then it was also a pretty amazing luxury to every day come home at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. I'm home. Just spend some afternoons with the kids. That was really awesome. A really awesome feeling. So I think they liked that, but it was probably a little weird for them. Like, where's Daddy? How come he's asleep? This is really weird. Yeah.
For the more complete answer,
Yes, I
see
did.
me afterwards.
You mentioned you took some melatonin. Can you elaborate on other things that you might have taken that influence your sleep?
Other things that I might have taken. I think I drank less alcohol, mostly because I did drink some. I tried to somewhat mimic my alcohol consumption patterns from the 24-hour day normal life, so that I would trigger, like, when I wake up at like 7 p.m., I'd be like, okay, I have to convince myself that this is morning now. So I'd expose myself to lots of light, wait the same amount of time I would normally eat wait until I eat breakfast or whatever, and then, you know, it'd be like 5 a.m. I'd be like, I have to go to bed pretty soon, in a couple of hours. Maybe I'll have a glass of wine right now, just to kind of so that kind of thing. But I didn't take like hardcore like sleep knock me out things. I think you were
On the same vein of productivity, so if you have 6 days instead of 7 in a week, did you find time savings from eating less meals or less personal hygiene because you had one less day in the week? Did you find that as a factor?
Let's see. I think that, well, there was one less night to sleep.
Right.
Less personal hygiene. Actually, I probably got more confused about personal hygiene and like took showers more often because it was like, oh, it's time to take a shower now by the sun half the time. And then there it was like, wow, I just got up. I should take a shower. You know. So, but I think most of the time savings had to do with having a really clear structure to follow that worked for me, whereas I always break the structure when I set them because I never want to go to sleep, and lots of uninterrupted time, huge vast tracts of land. Yeah. Oh, and then.
I just have a question about whether in your process of doing this, you came up with any kind of remedy for staying up way too late? Do you have some ideas about, like, what if you just accidentally did work till 4 in the morning now? Do you have some remedy for that? As opposed to, trying to do the whole cycle?
Go to bed as soon as possible. One, don't say, screw it, I've already stayed up so late, I might as well just forget it. That doesn't work. Another is, don't get up in the morning and think, oh, I'm so drowsy, I can't believe I stayed up so late. I'm going to have extra caffeine today to make up for not having slept last night, because that will screw your sleep the next night, at least for me. What else? I don't know, do you ping pong? I tend to ping pong. I'll stay up late one night, get 4 hours of sleep. The next night, sleep pretty long, like 8. And then do short, long. Because that's what it takes for me to be finally tired enough to go, and like fall asleep and go to bed early. Him and then you.
I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but there was some classic research done in the 50s and 60s concerning human circadian rhythms.
Yeah.
In which test subjects were isolated. From the
Yeah, so I did that to myself in the 80s. When I was much less attached, shall I say. And I had a house, and I just sealed off the entire basement, and it was pretty isothermal, and aluminum foiled all the windows, and so and I had a whole laboratory down there to do all my experiments in, and I felt, and so I just kind of free ran for a while, and I ended up after a little bit more than 2 weeks being pretty solidly convinced that 26 hours was about perfect for me.
Spot on. That's the point I was going to make. They found that people left on their own devices without outside cues fell into a circadian pattern of about 26 hours.
Yeah, so I'm stretching it the other way, and that works great for me. And then, hang on a second. And then somebody over here seemed like they're, wasn't, okay, oh wait, you already asked a question. Okay.
So you may have already answered this, but was it sustainable?
Maybe. I wanted to keep going. I really liked it.
But your body and your kind of emotions and your like and your it worked really well.
I totally felt fine.
And if it wasn't for
Yeah, it wasn't socially sustainable, but it was physiologically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, it was illy sustainable.
Thanks, Joe.